Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boys and girls, we are back. It is podcast time. Daz is here. Season 4 is here. Episode number 10, the final episode of season 4. I'm so excited for that. And I can't believe that I get to, well, I can believe it because they're here, but I get to share this time with not only people who are really champions for mental health, for empowerment, with women from every aspect of the globe, every ethnicity, everything you could possibly imagine. These are family members of mine, literally and figuratively. Shouts out to NCCC, which is now known as Jubilee, where I first met these two. Youth choir, A&O, men's fellowship, women's fellowship. We just got history. I know this lady's husband. He's a really good friend of mine. And Tiff is just like honorary sister to me for the last 3 decades. But these two have started a movement to really impact women, not only of color, but of every other ethnicity, walk of life, age group, socioeconomic status, middle class, lower class, whatever it is. And they have taken this movement to unfathomable heights that impress the mess out of me. They do retreats, they do seminars, they do workshops, and they have a fun and interactive group that meets every single Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my sisters from another mother, Rami, Tiffany, the Aunties are in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. Yes. Indeed. Oh. Hi, family. How y'all doing?
Hi. What's going on?
Thank you for having us.
Y'all, the skin is just, y'all are just glowing right now. Look at this, y'all. I just want to say before we end this, we got to do the selfie thing that y'all do. I've always been wanting to do that with y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be like, I'm going to do something like this. So for those that don't know, let's start from the very beginning. How did you, obviously we know where y'all met, but when did the relationship between the you two grow to where it is today? Who wants to start from the beginning?
I can start. And
knock it out, Rain.
If I get something wrong, just get me. So growing up, I was at, New Covenant Christian Center, which then became New Covenant Christian Church, which then became Jubilee. And so my mom brought me to church there since I was super, super young. I ended up becoming really, really, really close friends. My best friend growing up was Tiffany's younger cousin, which was the pastor's daughter. So Debbie was my best friend growing up, and I just so happened to luck upon actually becoming friends with Tiff through her, because Tiff's father and Bishop Thompson's Tiff's father and Bishop Thompson are brothers. And so they had this trip that they would do every year, and they would come down to Boston. And so Tiff would be in Boston, and I'd be like, oh, that's your cousin. That's my cousin. She became my big cousin and my big sister that got on my nerves because she's not that much older than me.
Wow.
But she got to do stuff that I didn't get to do, and I didn't feel like that was fair. So that kind of started our relationship, because it was like I like to get on her nerves, which I still do today. I'm the little sister that she always wanted.
Oh, you're making a lot of claims. Making a lot of claims.
Okay. Yep.
I'm the little sister. So, I mean, that is like the onset of our relationship growing up, doing summers together when she would be down here for the summer. And then anytime she came down, it was like we were always together and in the same thing. And I would say for me, I think the thing that really like sealed our relationship was I was a dancer growing up. And so one summer I was at Alvin Ailey's like intensive summer dance program. And it's very expensive to live in New York, as we know.
Yep.
And so my mom reached out to good old Aunt Cookie and Uncle Greg and were like, hey, can Raim stay with you guys? Because they're like a train ride from the city. And so staying with Tiff that summer, I think for me, at least, is kind of like what solidified our relationship. It wasn't through somebody. It wasn't like she was at Debbie's house and I was there to hang with Debbie, but then kind of it was like that summer, it was like we built our relationship. And then from there, we've lived together. She helps me raise my children, like all the things. So that's definitely from my end. I don't know if I missed anything.
Tiff, you want to add to that?
100%. I really think that when Rain came and lived in Jersey for the summer, it was like it gave us an opportunity to really get to know just each other, like just who we are outside of family and being in Boston and being around everyone else. And I think that was a pivotal moment for us because I truly believe like a true friendship is like we could sit in the same room and not speak and have a great time. And so it was like that kind of vibe. Like it was like she would go out or she would have to go to class and then we come back and maybe we would hang out, watch TV, maybe we grab something to eat. But it was like we didn't have to do much. And I think that was a huge part. And then, of course, when she started dating Mike and they were going through their process, and then, you know, Mike came down to New Jersey to talk with me about marrying Rami. And so that just shows the relationship. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and then, like she said, we lived together in Boston, the kids, Florida, all of that. So we just continue to stay connected.
I got to ask, what did Mike say to you in preparation to propose to Rami?
You know what? Because Mike and Rami had like broken up, gotten back together, like they were, you know, and Rami was still in school, you know, and all those things. And so we were just going through like the pros and the cons. Like I remember like Mike was laying in my room, laying on the floor. I was in my bed and we were just like up all night, just talking, just about what Rami means to him and how great of a woman she is and her ambition and her talent and how she would be as a mom. And, you know, I'm ready to take this move. And, you know, so it was just saying like, yeah, you're right. All of those things. So let's do this. So, yeah.
Right. And the rest is history. So where did so obviously you're hanging out. Y'all know each other very well, basically joined at the hip. When did the conversation start to do what you're doing now, the Your Favorite Aunties Instagram thing? When did this narrative of empowerment start to become a thing where you all could channel your individual energies and become a collective to empower women all over the U.S. and the world?
So me and Rain both were in Boston. Rain was the youth pastor for Rev 143. I was assisting Mike and kind of helping with the youth ministry as a youth leader. And then, you know, we both left. Mike and Rain moved to Florida. I moved back to Jersey. And I happened to like go back to Boston like a couple years later. And I was visiting and doing some things. And I ran into one of the kids from the youth group. And they were saying how they just missed the conversations that we used to have late at night, where it'd be me, Rain, Mike, it could be Reese, it could be anyone, you know, Pam, all the youth leaders and all the youth, and just kind of having that banter back and forth and, you know, giving them real life advice. Because I feel like when we were in youth group, the youth leaders were 50 with kids in youth group. And so to see Rain young, I'm young, they were young and married, but I was young and single, no kid, it just kind of gave them a different dynamic. And so, you know, that the youth, Sydney, who said that to me, I said, oh my God, yo, we got to do something. Like, I don't know. And so I hit Rain up. I was like, yo, what if we went live, you know, and just did a live and kind of just touched on some topics and talked some things and kind of brought the kids back into our fold, you know. And, you know, it was a pivotal time when we left. You know, a lot of them were on their way to college. And it's like, that's such a transitional time. And it's like, oh my God, they need us. They need us. That's what they're saying. So I said it to Rami. Rami was like, yeah. And I don't remember if it was in COVID or right before COVID.
It was COVID.
It was in COVID.
And I think also, because Tiff is absolutely right about her conversation with Sydney, but I think also another part of it was that me and Tiff talk all the time. So we would get on the phone and I would be like, oh my gosh, I was talking to Sarah and I said da, 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 da. And she would be like, oh, I was just talking to Raven and I said the same thing. And so I think by the time she got to the conversation with Sydney, it was like, oh, we're supposed to be doing something about this. Like, you know, there's something now in the age of technology. We don't have to be their youth pastors, their youth leaders to influence them. Like, we can go on a live and talk about all these things. So it was like we were kind of realizing, I think that conversation with Sydney made us realize like we're having a lot of the same conversations with a lot of our kids. They're not kids anymore, but we always call them our kids. But we're having a lot of conversations with a lot of our kids that are like the same. And they're about growing up, being a young adult, transitioning. How do I pick my career? How do I pick my partner? How do I pick, what do I do with my friends that don't seem like they're really my friends no more? How do I deal with my mother who won't stay out my business? Like all these kinds of like growing up, coming of age conversations that they wanted our opinions on. And we honestly felt honored that they still look at us that way. And we still feel honored today that they log on and they get on and they're like, oh, I want to know what, Auntie Rami and TT got to say. That makes us feel honored and special. And I think that's what pushes us to do it. It's not easy. It's been almost 4 years coming up. And it's definitely not easy to carve. Me and Tiff both have very busy lives for different reasons, but both very busy lives. And to carve that chunk of time out on a weekly basis is difficult, but we do it because of how honored we feel that all these now adults that we still look at as our kids, these adults, they want to know how we feel and think about certain things. And that matters to us. And so we want to show up for them.
That's insane. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in, I got Tiff, I got Rami, your favorite aunties who are just empowering women left and right. The male dynamic, obviously, you want to speak to the males as well, even though it's mainly a female dynamic that you mostly speak from. What's the response like from the males that tune in or just hear about it from sisters and aunts or otherwise that tune in? My auntie Margaret tunes in all the time and we talk about you all a lot. So, and I love it, but what's been the response from the male dynamic and how do you incorporate also learn from what you all teach week in and week out?
It's funny.
And Tiffany is quiet.
No, you know what? It's funny because for me and for Rain, it's all about a safe space, male or female. And I think that naturally women are attracted to myself and Rami because we literally represent such a wide array of women. Married, Black, single, educated, kid. Like we just cover a lot. And I think for men, they see that to kind of hear some things, to maybe apply some things. But not always. But some of the men, which is hilarious, are like, well, when are you going to do something for the men? When are you going to throw a retreat for us? When are you going to specifically? And, that's cute. It's cute. I don't know that we'll ever do it. Maybe Mike and Rain will do a marriage thing. I don't know. But, I think that regardless, a man should be listening into what women are talking about, to treat them better, to provide for them better, to listen better, to hear better, so to love them better. So I think that whether men come on or don't or hear it later, we're always welcome to them jumping on. But we're not doing a retreat for them. We're not.
I think what's funny too is that me and Tiff have always been truth tellers. And I think if you can be truth tellers with love, right? If you've deposited enough into somebody's life and you do have to make a withdrawal, it's okay because there's enough in the bank, right? And so with our kids, we have, since they were teenagers, we have always been like, yo, you're about to get this business. Like if you are doing something that's absolutely asinine, I'm about to let you know. And so I feel like a lot of the response from a lot of the younger guys that are like the age bracket of our youth that we were trying to reach, I feel like they have the same response they did back on Keith Ave days. Like, which is when they would see one of their sisters getting rashed, one of the girls in the youth group getting rashed, they were like, yep, she need that. Give it to her. So I feel like we still get, I feel like we still get the guys that come on. And when me and Tiff, in whichever, if I'm rashing on wives, if Tiff is getting on people in the workplace, how you quit your job without having another job? If we are just going in ration, you see the guys come in like, yep, tell them Tiff, tell them Rain. Like, I feel like it's that same kind of response as if we're not talking to them too, which is hilarious. But it's like the same kind of response that we get from them now, which honestly like makes me chuckle because I'm like, this was them. You'd be, bringing down one of the girls and rashing them for something. And then the boys would be in the back like, get her. I feel like it's the same, like it's the same vibe in the chat. Like it's the same vibe. And I love it. I love it. We love when guys come on. We love that they want us to do a retreat for them that we're not going to do. We think it's cute.
Right.
We think it's cute.
Oh,
I have nothing for you.
I have nothing to give.
I have nothing to give. Like, I don't know. What am I talking to you about? I don't know what I'm talking to you about.
I want to get personal just for a moment. Your spiritual journeys respectively. How would you summarize your journeys as a young teenager, young adult growing up in this crazy world that we live in? And what were some of the key factors that your mentors at the time gave you that still sit with you to this day, that you also instill to the people that you now mentor?
I think for me, I mean, when we were I grew up in the church, obviously, Rami and both of us grew up in the church. I think that it was just like so suffocating in terms of doing right, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, do right, don't do this, don't do this. So not saying that it was a bad thing. I think it just didn't show me balance. It didn't give me, a good scale as I go out into the world, whether it be to college or just work or just life in general. So I think that as I came back to Boston to work in the youth group, it was important for me to be that balance for them while I was also teaching myself. So it was a very not confusing time, but I'm kind of like trying to give tools while also trying to use them, which could be challenging at times because it's not something that you've mastered. And, by God's grace, I was able to do it well and love the kids well. And I think just as I've gotten older and just, having mentors and talk to me and kind of just let me know. And one of the things that I always lean on is like, humans will be humans, but God is God. So I don't really focus on, the pastors and who's doing this and who's doing that. I'm really like, I love Jesus. And so I get a good word from you. That's awesome. And if something scandal happens to you next week, that's fine. I'm trying to do right. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. And so I think I've just leaned on that and just really trying to understand and trying to grasp on life is balance. Like I'm trying to do the best I can with what I got. And, that's really, and I think a lot of that comes from the strictness that I had growing up. Like I still appreciate that. I still appreciate not being on a street corner. Like, let's not get it twisted. Yeah. But I also was like, dang, I wanted to go to a party or two and not feel like, oh my God. It's like, okay, it's a party. Like, relax. So I think that's like for me. And I'm always on a spiritual journey. I'm always 2 seconds from never going back to church. Like I'm always like, Lord, keep working in me. I'm always, but again, just keeping that focus on Christ and knowing like, that's it. Like, that's really it.
Rames, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think for me, similar experience with, I feel like the way that the church was, like not specifically our church or anything like that, specifically our pastors or our people. I just think that the way that I will say specifically the Black church operated a lot when I was younger was just very very hellbound, like it was very anxiety ridden. It was very much like this is the way to live and that's it. Which again, like Tiff, I'm not here to poo-poo on my upbringing. I'm not here to poo-poo on my foundation because I know that it has given me the faith and the strength that I need to get through some things today. So I'm not here to poo-poo on any of that. At the same time, what I will say is that it did give me some other things too, like spiritual anxiety. Right? Like I have a level of spiritual anxiety from my upbringing of like oh my gosh, and I'm going to hell. There's a level of spiritual anxiety that I have that I know is not intended like by God. And so there's some things that I do have to shake off, but I feel like even more than that, the biggest thing that kind of I went on a journey on was I always felt like people that were older than you were supposed to know everything because they always did, right? They always, if you had a mentor growing up, you were in youth group, you could go to your mentor, you could go to your accountability person, and you could talk to them and they knew everything about everything. And I think what happened is when I felt the call to be a pastor, the weight that came on me was like, I don't know everything about everything. And then I had the opportunity to go to YWAM. And when me and Mike did YWAM, I was under this lady who still is a big voice in my life. Her name is Rhonda. And I remember for the first time, I had asked her a question. And she said, you know, Raim, I really don't know. Let's pray about that. And that was the first time I had seen that level of vulnerability in somebody that was, in my mind, was supposed to know and have all the answers. And so when I went back and me and Mike started pastoring Rev, that was something I wanted to be able to give my kids. That I don't want to show you that you need to grow up and know everything, because that's not the reality of life. And I don't want to show you that because I'm your pastor, because I'm your mentor, I have all the answers, because that's not the reality of life either. And so that part of the journey for me is something that I wanted to instill back was I don't have all the answers. God does. And if you have a dope enough relationship with him, you have all the answers too, because you have God, not because you have this mentor or this person, but because you have God. So instilling that in them, like hearing the voice of God and how important that is to your life growing up, is something that I wanted to instill in my kids, that I feel like we kind of like waited around for the prophet to come. You know what I mean? Like we were waiting for, you know, a Mark Sharona to show up at Jubilee and give everybody a word. And that's how you would, like, instead of, you know, hey, I need you to know that you can hear God just like Mark Sharona does. You know what I mean? So I feel like for me, that was something big in Rev that I wanted to teach, or all the kids to know, that I don't have all the answers, but yo, God does. And if you can connect with him and talk with him, like, you're golden.
That's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Rami and Tiff are here, your favorite aunties. They do this thing when do y'all do? Is it every Thursday night?
Thursday, 8:30.
Okay. Every Thursday night at 8:30. Make sure you tune in. I know I will be, because I can't wait to see what they're going to talk about next. Tiffany, from a single woman's perspective, what is one of the biggest challenges that single women bring to you, that you can talk about right now, so that single women who are tuned in can get some type of food for thought right now? So what is something that single women say, I have a problem with this, or how do you navigate this as a single woman of color yourself? What is one of the constant things that you hear about a lot, and how do you address it?
I would probably say most single women come to me talking about they don't want to wait, or they're looking for someone. So, you know, I mean, what do you want from me? I'm like, go talk to Auntie Rami, okay? Because I'm not waiting or looking. But I will say, and I've said this before, because a lot of our kids are, I would say 50% of them are not married, 50% of them are married. And I know the pressure of everyone else being married and you're not married when you want to be married. And so I'm always just encouraging the women to wait well. Like, I feel like a lot of us are waiting laying down. And it's like, well, you're not prepared for anything. You're not prepared for someone to come along and to wife you. And so I tell them to wait well, you know, like really be active about taking care of yourself, taking care of your home, making sure your finances are in order, doing all of the things. Learn a hobby, learn something, take a walk, take a jog, get yourself active and do some things. You never know, the man that comes along might be someone who likes to take hikes, and you've been laying down all this time, and he's like, well, girl, you don't want to walk up the steps. This ain't gonna work, you know? So just like waiting well, and then also putting yourself in situations to meet people. I feel like even with my male friends that are like at the age now where it's like, yeah, I should settle down. Okay. I'm like, yo, but what are you doing to settle down? Like, are you out somewhere? Are you, parties or barbecues, or, and it's like, as much as I listen, online dating, I could give you the horror stories. I just feel like we need to go back to the good old, let me hook you up. I know someone. Like, I just feel like we need to go back there, because think about it. It takes away the anxiety of, is this person crazy? They still could be, right? But at least you're like, well, Rain knows him. Rain's been friends with him and she's hooking me up. So there's got to be some type of knowledge there, where you go online and you like, I don't know. Like, we gonna meet at the restaurant. You gonna follow me home from the restaurant? I'm a little scared. So I just tell women that wait well and put yourself in situations to meet the type of man that you would like to meet. The type of man, not Boo Boo the Fool now. Don't, Lord. I just, no shame. But that's what I say. Because most single women want to be married. That is a fact. A lot of women want to be married. If a single woman doesn't come to me talking about how she doesn't want to be married, they don't really do that. So, I mean, if they did, I would ask them if they ask themselves the tough questions. You know, if they really dug deep and made that decision, because you can't just make that decision because we live in such a feminist world where women can do it all and do it by yourself, girl. You don't need no man. And it's like, well, if that's why you made the decision, that was dumb. You need to make the decision more wiser and asking yourself the tough questions. And do you feel any type of way when you're around other couples? Are you envious or jealous or have anxiety about it? Then maybe that decision of you not wanting to be married was not a real decision. Maybe you made it out of anger because of a past relationship or because of how you're feeling right now or the way that you look right now. Maybe you feel like no one's going to really like you. But so those, again, those are just a bunch of the things.
I want to just chime in real quick. A lot of brothers ask me over the years, what do you do to find that person? I'm like, well, it starts with you. I say this to a lot of the brothers. I'm like, if you still have the mindset of acting like a single person when you're in a relationship, chances are marriage, it really isn't for you at this time. There's someone I know who's in a relationship right now, but yet he still lives like a single person to the point where he's entertaining other females in a way that you should not entertain other females when you know you have something at home. And I try to tell him this all the time, and it just goes in one ear and out the other. And I'm like, dude, are you trying to be found out? You're a radio personality for the biggest radio station in Kansas City, where everybody knows who you are and knows who you're with. And he just doesn't seem to get it. And I'm like, dude, when you get caught in the act of doing something, then it'll be too late to try to change your ways. So to the brothers listening, make sure you know what you want to do. Like I knew as soon as I met my wife 4 years ago, I knew after our first date that was going to be the one. And I started planning it to get to there, like getting ready to leave Boston and move to the Midwest, which I hate. I hate the Midwest. I hate it. I love her, hate the Midwest, but I was mentally prepared because of all the teachings that I've had from Chris and Carl and Bishop and Maxie and Mona and Matt and everyone under the spectrum. So I was ready for it, but there's certain brothers who are not. Rami, as a married woman, what is one of the biggest challenges you get from married women to this day with their husbands or social situations or domestic situations with kids, relatives, friends who are single? What is one of the biggest challenges you face as a married woman that you get from the people you mentor?
Not me. Let me tell you, this ain't my problem. So let me just be clear. But the biggest challenge I get from everybody else is potential. Everybody marries potential. Everybody marries who someone can become and who, well, I thought he would. Okay, well, sis, that's on you. Because if you don't look at that person and say, I can deal with everything that you are today in whatever form that looks, that comes, that acts, that sounds like, if you can't say that, don't marry them. Don't marry her. Don't marry him, because people don't change. People will grow, right? But if somebody doesn't, for instance, my husband doesn't like change. He is a creature of habit. He is somebody that likes to get up and do the same exact thing every single day. I am not. So a hard question that I had to ask myself is this going to get on my nerves? And I had to be honest. Like, am I going to be sitting around pissed off that he doesn't want to do certain things? Or am I going to be okay to be like, well, I got friends. I got
Mhm.
kids. I have people that I can have different types of experiences with when he doesn't want to. Or am I always going to be salty and mad on the inside that he didn't want to do that with me? And those are the kind of hard questions that male, female, but specifically, you know, women coming to me, those are the kind of hard questions that they don't ask themselves. And to just be frank, you know, I get it that, you know, sex before marriage and people are destigmatizing it and all the things, but yo, it clouds you. It clouds you. And if the booty is good, now all of a sudden you're like, okay, we can do this. This is great. I love her. She loves me. But it clouds your judgment in terms of who that person actually is and the things that you can actually put up with on a sustainable basis. We're not talking about like a 2-year relationship. We're talking forever. We're talking about making kids with that person. And then the same things you didn't like about that person popping up in your kids. And now you got to deal with it in your kid. Now you're it's too much. Stop marrying for potential, which is why, as it pertains to marriage, I like to go back. Like when you're dating, when you're single, my advice that I give to women all the time, women and men, is become your list. Like whatever you're looking for in somebody else, work on becoming it. Because guess what? That other person might not be able to meet all those needs. So if you're making this list because of things, I need him to be financially stable. Sis, be financially stable. Like you do that. You handle that. Because then if somebody shows up and they're working on something, you don't automatically push them to the side because they're not financially stable, because you're financially stable. And he got an up and coming career, but he's still in school. So in before, you might have pushed homeboy to the side, like, he ain't making 6 figures. I'm done with him. Okay, well, sis, now you missed out on homeboy that's gonna be a lawyer or a doctor in a couple of years because he wasn't making it right now. If you were financially stable, you could have grace for the fact that he's not at the place where you want him to be financially right now. So become your list. Like single people, become your list. The list that you're making for somebody else to be, you be it. And then you don't have to marry potential. Marry the person you see in front of you.
You hear that, Tiffany?
Oh no, I don't see anything in front of me.
I just wanted to mess with you. Yeah, I just wanted to mess with you.
It's not there.
It's not there at all. When did you? Okay, all jokes aside, Tiffany, and when did you know that you had no desire to be married? When did you know that that was not for you?
I would probably say in the last like 5 years. I can't like pinpoint the time. I think over time it was like a back and forth thing. It was like certain things that I would ask myself, like, could you be committed for the rest of your life? And it was like, ugh, I don't know. I don't think so. And it was like, I probably can't. So it was like, well, check that off. And it was like just continually asking the question. I mean, you know, I said this obviously on the show. I've said this in private conversations, like, yo, my mother clears her throat. Okay. My mother, who gave birth to me, she is the love of my life. I love my mother, but she has this thing with her throat. And every time she does it, I want to throw her through a window. And I literally in that moment said to myself, imagine if your husband had this problem with his throat. What would you do? And I was like, I would leave. Our relationship would be over because I can't. But see, because I want people to understand like the level of the depth that I went to like really say, I don't, you know, I want to come home in my own space. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to ask questions. I don't want you to think you come in. I don't want you to think we can live together. I don't want to live with you. I want you to live down the street. There's just a bunch of things. And, you know, I think over the span of probably like 5 to 7 years, it was like asking those questions. And then eventually it was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm really good. And I hang around a lot of couples, like literally Mikey and Rami, one of my good friends, Caress and Jane. Like, and I'm always like, guys, this is so beautiful. Oh my God, I cannot. Like, I'm out. Like, no, I don't look at you guys and I don't feel envious or jealous or, you know, wishing this was me. I actually don't. I actually do not. And so, yeah, I think, again, asking those hard questions. But as always, the same thing I say to my kids, I always leave room. I don't know what can happen in 10 years. Like, I don't know. I could be married at 55, 60. Like, I don't know. I don't care. But like right now in this season of my life, I love that I do what I want to do when I want to do it, period. And that's it.
And I think what's funny is that, like, I chuckle and laugh at her all the time. But honestly, like, I chuckle and laugh, but then I'm honestly thinking, do you know how many people are like this? Do you know how many women I talk to that in my head, I'm not going to say this to them, but in my head, I'm going, you should have never gotten married. Like, you just don't have the personality type to be, at least like Tiff said, in this season of your life, to be married. Because the way Tiff is talking about her mother clearing her throat, aggravating her, I can list you off 10 women right now that have said very similar things to me about their husband.
Wow.
The way that this man just wakes up. And it's, for instance, my husband has very heavy feet. It would be like me being downstairs, which happens every day. I'm getting the kids ready for school and I hear my husband get up. It would be like me being annoyed through my core. That right? Like this man, he gets up and he wants to stomp his feet Yo, there are really women sitting around angry at their husbands' just existence, like just their pure existence. Yeah. And it's because, you should have been alone. Like, you, in this season of your life, you should, at least in this season, I'm not saying people should never get married. I'm married. I love marriage. But there are certain people, when you listen to them complain, this is why for me, when I'm giving marriage advice, I say to women all the time, there are certain things that are personal between you and your husband, and there are certain things that are just a result of marriage. Like, that's just a result of marriage. That has nothing to do with your husband's personality or your personality or the differences. That's just marriage. Like, and so if you can't handle that, like, what are we doing here? And this is why I love Tiff, and this is why I think we have such a balanced show together, because I want women to hear that. I'm not sitting here married in a fairy tale like everybody should be married. No, I do marriage counseling. Everybody should not be married because people are selfish and people don't want it. And so in that instance, just be single. It's okay to be single. And I'm so happy Tiff is the voice for it.
It really is okay. And I think that's what is also special about our show, is that we are two different women in two different aspects of life. And our perspectives sometimes are far on the other side, but we're going to come to a middle ground, or sometimes it's the same. And I think a lot of times when you listen to shows or listen to people, you're only getting one perspective, which is like, she's married, she has kids, she's been doing this or whatever, or she's single, she's bitter, she did it, or the single mother, or did it. And it's like, we're giving you that perspective. That's so, again, the balance, which is just super important. And I love love. I love love. Yeah. Like, I have to say that because I don't want people to be like, well, she's just a bitter, angry wannabe. No. I love love. Anyone who comes to me about relationships, I'm like, yo, are you loving each other right? Did you do everything you could? Is this the problem? I'm not like, you need to leave him. I'm not that single friend. I'm not. I'm encouraging. I'm like, listen, let's make this work. What can we do? How can I support you? Because this is not contrary. This is not for everybody. This is not easy. Me and Rami have this conversation all the time. My life is my life. Like, something happens, Tiffany has to solve it. Like, yes, I have my family. I got my parents are still around. It's a beautiful thing. But like, at the end of the day, I get into a car accident. I got to figure out, well, what I'm going to do about my car, or how I'm going to pay for this, or who's going to bring up this. And we laugh about this all the time, but who's going to bring up my groceries? Me. And so this decision, if anyone ever comes to me for it, I'm like, this is very difficult. Like, everything is, your mind is constantly, okay. It's funny because the TikTok is like, husband and wife go to the airport and the wife is like, and the husband's making sure you got the tickets, making sure the bags, check-in, and I try to tell people I'm both people. I'm but also being like, oh, my tickets. Oh, I got to do, like, I'm both people. And so that's not easy. And I think that's why you have to be diligent about questions and making sure if this is your single season, you don't have to make a lifetime commitment like me, but your single season.
That's crazy. This is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany and Rami are here, your favorite aunties, empowering the mess out of dads right now. I'm loving my sisters speaking openly. Let's talk about the last retreat you all had. I got to see some of the videos and everything. It looked amazing. For those that didn't attend it or want to know about the next one you guys are doing, explain what the retreat is and what you guys do during that 3 or 4 days that you all are together. And Rami is laughing. I know something funny is about to come.
No, I
want to let it be known that I never wanted to do the retreat. I want it to be known. I never wanted to do the retreat. So go ahead, Rami.
I was waiting. I knew you were going to say it, so I was waiting. So, oh my gosh, when we had our youth ministry back in Boston, we used to run retreats for the youth group. And that was the time when you would see a lot of things come to the surface for kids, and like they would get a lot of healing. But even more than that, that was beautiful and that was great. The spiritual growth was amazing. But I think like even more than that, we came back from those retreats like a family. Like we came back like, and again, it would be like 3 or 4 days over, a February break or April break up in Boston from school. And we would just like be with our kids in the mountains of Singing Hills, sledding and worshiping Jesus up until all hours of the night. And we would just come back different. All of us, we just came back different. And so as we were doing our lives, me and Tiff had kind of, because we do like a big meeting every year, just like we meet all the time. Tiffany is very organized. And so she runs a very tight ship. And so we have one of our meetings, one of them is our yearly meeting where we basically go over everything that we're doing. How can we be doing better? Blah, blah, blah. Like a, year in review type of thing. And we're having that meeting, and Tiff is always the one that is like, what could we be doing more of or better or what's next? Tiff always thinks like that. So she blames me, but I blame it on her because she's always forward thinking. What could be bigger, better, all the things. So she asked that question, and I knew she was going to ask it because I know her. And I had on my list, but it was like on my list. She couldn't see it. And so we were meeting over FaceTime, and I'm like, I just think maybe we could do a retreat. And she's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not doing no retreat with nobody.
Immediately no. Immediately no.
Why no off the top? Why no? Why you were against it? Why?
Well, I mean, it's not a secret, but I don't like people. So to be confined to an area with people and there's no out is like, I'm claustrophobic. Like you go to a party, you see people at the party, you can leave the party at any time you want. It's like, hey, you sneak off, no one knows you left. At a retreat, it's like, and I'm throwing it, I'm trapped. I gotta be here for however many days. And so but go ahead. I'm sorry, Rain. It's just, yeah.
Yes, this is why she was no right away, because she's just like, I don't want to be trapped in a house with people that I may or may not like. Who's going to come? What if people come that we don't like? And like all the things. Anyway, God has been amazing. And both of our years, I would say year one as our first year to like test the waters. Absolutely amazing. I think we had 7 attendees. And it was like the most beautiful experience. We had 2 huge major events happen to the women during the retreat, and they still chose to stay. Big major events in their life that it was like, hey, if you guys need to go, we understand. And they were like, no, I need to get what's going on here. Like that, just that alone kind of gives a testament to how just amazing the retreat is. And it's basically something that we've curated to that you're going to come, you're going to have fun, but you're going to be inspired, but you're going to be able to relax. You're going to be able to be by yourself. You're going to be able to be with your people. You definitely have free time, but we definitely, it's like the girls trip that you want, but you didn't get to have, or maybe you don't have that group of girlfriends, or maybe you can't plan it. And so you and all your girlfriends decide to come to our retreat. We're giving you all those kinds of experiences like paint nights and dressing up together in our PJs and doing skincare and making Sundays, but also like, putting our cares up into the sky and letting them fly away, and having that spiritual experience. And, you know, I teach a yoga class that has become very impactful. Again, I'm very honored by the way.
Everyone's favorite part. You can say it. You don't need me to say it for you. Everyone's favorite part is the yoga session in the morning with Rami. It's fine. I'm not offended. It's great.
I am shocked. I'm shocked by it because it's definitely something that I specifically have curated with a lot of intention, but I didn't expect for the women to receive it the way that they do. It's a beautiful time that I get to have with them, and that specifically is one of the main things that touches my heart. Just to be able to speak to women in that place of vulnerability of their bodies, you know, and so like that's really beautiful for me. But we're given like karaoke party vibes, but like you're also gonna like be able to swim by the pool with a cocktail if you want to, or a mocktail if you want to. Like, we're giving you adult Christian good time. Like, it's not ratchet, but we're not out here like treating you like you're 12, you know. Like, it's 21 and over. You're coming, you're gonna have a good time. You don't have to have a drink, but if you want to have one, there's some available. Like we're having a good time, and the women are gonna have a good time, and we try to have a good time, but we work really, really hard to make sure that everyone else does.
It looks like a lot of fun. Is there one coming up? Because if so, I think I'm gonna pay for my wife to go, because I think she needs a release and a refresh. So mainly from me, but yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm difficult. I'm very difficult. Yeah, mainly for me. Yeah.
We do have one. It's
I'm not afraid to say it. I'm very difficult. I get on her last nerve all the time. And I don't mean to do it intentionally. It just happens, I guess. But yeah, she hasn't thrown me out the house yet, so I'm still on her good graces, and I'm trying to stay there. So I may have to do this for her. One last question I want to ask before I let y'all go. Both of you guys have been raised by pastors, your PKs. What's been the biggest anxiety of being a pastor's kid and then becoming a pastor?
So I'm not a pastor's kid, nor am I a pastor. So I'm going to.
Okay. Well, you're kind of you're a mentor.
I'm going to give you a Baptist finger.
Okay. Do that. Well, this question mainly was for Rami, but to be in a spiritual place of leadership, what are some of the anxieties that both of y'all have encountered being a leader, both spiritually and empowering women at the same time? What are some of the anxious moments that you guys still have to this day in the role that you guys are in?
I think that for me, like I spoke about earlier, I think that the anxiety that hit me when I knew that my call was specifically pastor, and I speak to this a lot on my on our live, that I feel like women aren't seen, girls aren't seen in church when they have pastoral gifting. And I've always had pastoral gifting my whole life, but I never had one pastor say to me, "Yo, you're a pastor." But I will, and I didn't know it. I'm not saying that like I knew it and nobody called it out in me. I had no idea that the way that my gifting aligned was pastoral. I didn't know that about myself until I got older. And I think that we got to do a better job at seeing the pastoral gifting in women, because we're missing out on so many female pastors that can be amazing because of it. Because you got to have that stuff called out when you're young, so that you can recognize your gifts align with it. But I think that anxiety that came on me was that I didn't know, because I wasn't raised up to be a pastor. I wasn't raised up going to Bible school, and like, you know, all the boys that get called out, they're going off to Bible college and they're doing all the things. I wasn't raised like that. When I was getting ordained, there was like this anxiety that came over me to just know everything and to just be everything for someone. And the way that my personality lines up is that I want to. I want to be everything to someone. I want to help you heal your wounds. And so what I kind of really had to let go of was really that, like, I can't do it, that God does the work. And that was like, it sounds really easy and simple, but it's been a long journey for me to get to the place where my boundaries are good enough to know that God is ultimately in control, and I don't have a heaven or hell to send anybody to. And what I can do is guide and lead to the best of my ability. But we hear in part and we know in part, every single one of us, whether you're a pastor, a bishop, or somebody that's just coming to church on Sunday. We're all figuring it out. And we are all, at the end of the day, sheep, being led by the ultimate shepherd. And so that kind of anxiety was something that I've definitely had to learn to alleviate. That, I didn't want to mess anybody up. I didn't want to screw up anybody's life with what little Rami had to say. And so I really had to get that in check and pull that together. But I love it. I love it. And it's exactly who I am. But it was definitely the anxiety of trying to fix everybody's problems and clearly not being able to. So that's a journey that I'm pretty much through with, but I think there's still things that pop up for me that I have to put God back in the center.
I agree. I think one of the things, being in a position of just, speaking into people's lives or just helping, counseling, whatever you want to call it, I think there's always anxiety of just trusting yourself, trusting what you have to say. There are definitely times, like Rami said, it's like, oh, I don't want to screw them up, Lord, I don't want to, I don't want to impose my belief on them. That's another thing, just making sure that I check myself in terms of how I feel and how I think and how I operate, and kind of make sure I'm coming from a neutral place that's just neutral advice, neutral guidance, but also trusting that I hear from the Holy Spirit. I can hear God's voice and being able to speak into someone's life. So I think that's probably, I don't know that will ever go away for me. It's kind of like imposter syndrome. I've said before in conversations, when I was working at Jubilee, I was an admin. I was administrative. And as I've grown on this platform with Your Favorite Aunties, with the retreat, I know now I was much more than an admin then. And so, but you kind of you revert back to what's comfortable. And so I would say for that would probably be the biggest obstacle.
That's pretty dope, man. So awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, these are Your Favorite Aunties. These are two of my sisters from different mothers that I've known basically half my life. And to see them evolve and become what they become is just a great testament, not only to God, but just the people that mentored y'all and brought y'all up respectively and collectively. So it feels good to see my family growing in the ways that you all have grown. And on a personal note, if you guys ever see Mike and Rami when Mike appears on the thing they do every Thursday, it has me dying every single time. These two are like comedians, the way they interact, but it is such a beautiful thing to see Black love expressed in this way that is not the stereotypical ways that you see it in movies and in TV and reality. Don't listen to what reality shows say. If you really want to see what true Black love is, follow people that live it, that are it, and that give you hope. If you're about to get married or are married in certain situations, look at couples like what they do, and just know that if they can be happy after 16 plus years and a gang of kids, anyone can be happy. So thank y'all for teaching me, because there are days when I'm just like, did I really? And then I look at the good moments and I look at the pictures, and then I see the influence from people like y'all and Bishop and Sister T and so many others that make it really proud to say marriage is a dope thing when you know you have the right person through the good and the bad. But to see y'all empower women the way that you all do it, I'm so blessed to be a part of the movement and just see what y'all do week in and week out. With that being said, plug your Instagram podcast. If there's another retreat on the horizon, plug that, or whatever you all got coming up. Here's your chance to plug it. Spotlight is on you. Go ahead, ladies.
Yeah, so our Instagram is Your Favorite Aunties. UrFavoriteAunties. That's our only Instagram page. And then we're every Thursday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We go live every week discussing hot topics about marriage, sex, love, working, pivoting, children, all of the above. And then our retreat is in October. This year it is October 3rd through 6th. Sad that I don't know the date, but it's the first week of October. We do that retreat once a year, every year. And so 2024 is full, but 2025 is not. So if you think you might want to join us, it is a women's retreat for the love of God. And that's it.
Wait, so this one for October is already filled? Y'all can't squeeze one more, maybe?
We might. I mean, we would have to discuss. I think we might have one. I think maybe, but I got to look at the numbers.
Please do, because I would really like.
And we would love to have her. We would.
Yes,
yes.
We would.
I think this would be, and so that's also right around her next birthday too, because she's born on the 15th of October. So that's kind of perfect that if she could come. So that'd be awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rami. This is Tiffany. These are your favorite aunties. Thank y'all so much for spending this time. I wish where's Mike at? Where is he? Is he
you want him?
Yes.
You want him?
Get Mike. We're gonna get him off air though.
Wait, can we get this picture first?
We'll do the picture offline. We're gonna do that offline when we end the show.
Okay.
But ladies and gentlemen, this has been a beautiful, beautiful time. Thank you to these wonderful sisters for spending this time and really, really giving you all the nuts and bolts of what they do, why they do it, and the mission of why they do it. Season 4 is done. I'm going to take the rest of the year off to enjoy my wife and enjoy these things that I've got going on. And we'll be back in 2025 to do this all over again for season 5. Until then, see you all next time. God bless y'all. And thanks for coming out. We're out of here. Dun, dun, dun,
He's coming.
Cool. All right.